so curious if you could give a tip or two on these realistic string sounds, because like obviously you're working with MIDI, so like how are you getting these MIDI strings to sound so real?
Well, I have to confess, I have a chronic addiction to sound libraries, specifically string libraries. So when a new one comes out, I mean, I'm like the target of all these companies. They send me their emails. They're like, "Oh, we'll get them. We're suck them in." And I see a new one's out, and I'm like, oh, "I don't have that one. I don't need it, but I don't have it." It's like a collection. Like I'm a hoarder of string libraries. And so
Sure.
I probably have like 70 string libraries. And that's just like specifically string libraries. If you added like full orchestra libraries that include strings also, I'd probably have over 100, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is sad and embarrassing, I admit it. But like through that process, like honestly, there's little gems in all of them, right?
Sure. Absolutely.
And so there's patches that I'm like, I will never use this. But then there's patches that I put in almost everything, like little hit, oh, this spiccato or this pizzicato or this legato, this cello, that violin. Like I've kind of found like, things throughout some of them. But I will say, like, I have a couple of favorites, obviously. I don't mind sharing at all. Like I talk about them a lot. The Berlin Strings by Orchestral Tools has been like one of my favorite string libraries for the past 6 years since I found it. It's just the best sounding that I've ever heard. And you can do a lot with it. You know what I mean? And they have a couple expansions. And so they're expensive, but like you get what you pay for with sounds. That's what I always tell people. I mean, investing in one good string library is better than investing in, 10 libraries that are just kind of mediocre. So Berlin Strings and Spitfire's BBC Orchestra is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good too, because you can range from small to really big all in the one library, solo and ensemble. And so I layer a lot of stuff. And so among all these different libraries, like I'll put Berlin Strings, like the first chairs up first, and then Berlin Strings ensemble below that. And then I'll accent it with, another library. And then Tina Guo cello from Cinesamples is like unbelievable. The legato patch in that. So I'll use that for like to make the cello lines stand out.
It's pretty
And so
remarkable how you're even just talking about layering this orchestra in the
yeah, like
DAW.
I build it up. Cinebrass Pro, like I use Monster Low Brass and 12 horns ensemble, like in everything, and then figuring out the volume placement so it feels like a big orchestra without being too like brassy. But dude, then like playing it, like I play everything in legato. So instead of like pulling up this just big string ensemble and then just block chording everything, like I'll pull up, a violin one and I'll play 3 octaves of a melody on legato so it can kind of like transition to every note and I figure out the part I want. And then I'll pull the violin two and do 3 octaves of that, but do a harmony either below or above, whatever, feels right. And then I'll add in bass and cello and do a harmony in the cello, all on legato. And I found that like, wow, that takes obviously 20 times longer than just block chording a big string thing. When you can do individual parts like that, that's where it feels more realistic because you're actually moving differently. Because you can't really like do that. You don't have, you know what I mean? You don't have enough fingers to do all that and change, and your brain can't like keep up with that. So doing that, the transitions on legato to like glide up, versus like, just cutting. That's one of the things I found that helps with the realism, I guess you could say. Harmonies too. Some people just do octaves of like one violin thing, and that always sounds like MIDI. But as soon as you add a harmony, I feel like then it starts to feel more like a string section.